Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for joining me. This is going to be a little bit different kind of get ready with me than what I usually do. Normally I'm really talking about every bit and piece of makeup and really explaining that, and I'll list it all below what I end up using. Basically, I'm just getting ready for my day, but I'm talking about a little bit deeper subject. And if you've been watching here pretty regularly or also on my social media, I've talked about migraine headaches and the fact that for about a 2-week period, 3 weeks ago, I was getting them really regularly. I want to say I had about 5 or 6 migraines in a very short span of time. And to give you a little context for that, I normally would have maybe 3 migraines a year. Throughout my entire pregnancy with Rhett, I had 1. But that being said, it is something that definitely is part of my life. I had my first migraine way back in early grade school. They are hereditary in my family. My dad gets them also. And if you don't know what a migraine is, it's a very severe headache that a lot of times for people is accompanied by something called aura. And to me, that makes it totally debilitating. Like if we were just talking about having a little pain in your head that you can just kind of go about your day, we all have those probably quite frequently. Just a little tension headache here or there. But a migraine for me means that my vision is going to get blurry. In terms of just thinking and speech, I'm gonna not maybe be able to just find the right word. Very sensitive to light and sound. The only real thing that makes you feel better is laying in a dark room and just sleeping it off. And being a nursing mother right now, it's like there's really not a lot I can take. However, I did recently get a prescription for Imitrex, which was something I had taken back in the day pre-baby when I had my only other frequent bout of migraines, which was just before college. So when you're having a lot of them, it really makes you wonder what the heck am I doing in my life that's bringing these on? It could be something out of my control. It could just be, hormones changing right now. It could be breastfeeding, aging, I don't know. But anyone who does get migraines knows that there are triggers. Everybody usually has their triggers. And oftentimes these things are within your control. So I started thinking about what my triggers have been for a lot of my life. Looking into these triggers really caused me to embrace those things in this struggle that I could control and really take a hard look at the way I live my life every day. Got the skin prep now. I'm going to be using this Makeup Forever Reboot foundation. It's new. Brightens, smooths, firms, hydrates, evens out. That's what we're doing here in a nutshell. Comes with this brush. I should say doesn't come with it, but it's like a recommended partner for it. Just setting the stage for you a bit here. If you know anything about astrology and you know about the general description of a Capricorn, that should tell you a lot about me. I am one who really has always thrived on productivity. For me, it's not something that depletes me, putting in a lot of work. It actually can kind of pump me up. In a lot of ways, I would say I'm one who likes solving their own problems. I put a lot on myself, and I'm not trying to glorify this. I just have a tendency of putting a lot on my own plate, let's say. And I do that despite adding to my own stress. And I do think Capricorns are ones who take on a lot, not even realizing the toll it may be taking, because in a sense they do also thrive on this life. Also, another thing I was thinking about was when you look at social media and just the attitudes that sometimes we absorb just by seeing other people. And you see people, especially new moms and stuff like that, posts about never sleeping, posts about always busy, people going in a million directions, and it's almost as though we place value and we glorify the busy life, and we place some value in that life of burning the candle at both ends, basically. So the question I maybe needed to ask myself, I'm bringing back a little Tarte Shape Tape, by the way, haven't used it in a while. The question to ask might be, my paper to-do list looks great, I'm checking things off, but the things of real value in my life, can't really even be put into a to-do list. Is it more important that we live life checking things off, or really slowing down and appreciating what's actually happening around us, Anybody else out there sometimes get a one-track mind when they're busy and doing things, and you lose sight not only maybe of the important things, but a big important thing is yourself and your own health and what's your body doing and are you giving it all it needs. We'll come back to that, but let's talk about migraine triggers because this is a real big thing for me, and this is where we get into me not taking care of myself very well. My migraine triggers, I have a few notes here. Lack of sleep, and it's always been this way. Too much screen time, too much time spent on a computer, stress, dehydration, and missing a meal. That is actually a very widely known trigger for a lot of people, and that's been the one that I've not really recognized until very recently for me. So you ever get so busy, I mean, it doesn't happen to me a lot, but you ever get so into something where you're like, oh, I miss that meal. For example, when Baker, that's Cupcake, our cat, she was sick, she'd been going outside the litter box, I was stressed about it, and I took her to the vet one day after Bub had gotten home from work, and I just was like rushing out. He got home, I grabbed her, I went off to the vet, and before I know it, it's like 7:30, 8 o'clock, and I'm back home and I haven't eaten. I'm sitting there on the couch thinking, man, I'm hungry. What am I going to do? And before I know it, I'm having the visual like kind of disturbance. I'm thinking, oh dear, I'm getting a migraine now. And that's a classic example of a couple of triggers kind of overlapping and creating that headache situation for me, okay? That was the one migraine I got while pregnant with Lil Bubba. And that was when I started to sort of realize, oh, you know, not feeding your body, probably not drinking enough either. A little dehydration may have come into that, and add in a little stress, and you got the cocktail for a migraine. So when I get one of these headaches, I do end up taking a mental note usually, like, okay, I've been overdoing it. Sorry, body. Like, I take this as my signal that I've been doing too much. I'll try to lay off that a little bit. I'm sorry. But then I inevitably, like, I note that for a day, and then I'm not very good about creating a lifestyle of noticing that. And I kind of go back to my old ways. When I started my string of migraines recently, this is Kevin Aquan Contour book, when I started this like migraine pattern, let's call it, that I don't normally ever have, but like one other time in my life had a string of migraines, I did note, okay, you know, you're having a migraine. I actually got the first one when I had finished spending about like 2 straight hours editing. And I'm not sure I even looked away from the computer. I just like boom, 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 boom. I'm like, okay, need to slow down, whatever. I sleep off the migraine, thank goodness. Like my parents are handy and available to like keep an eye on the kids when things like this happen, and Bub's at work. Thank goodness, I am so grateful for a support system. But by later that day, I was back at it. I was like, okay, I just need to finish this one other thing. Back to looking at a screen, back to finishing things up, and I shouldn't have been. And you know what happened? And it was probably right that it did. I got another migraine. I don't think I ever fully let myself recover from the first one. And normally for me, you know, how long does a migraine last? Well, you get one and it takes you maybe a couple hours to sleep that thing off. And then I am one who continues to have kind of a lingering headache. I think it's referred to as post-drome or whatever. All throughout the following day, but it's not like a migraine headache. It's just kind of a dull, achy feeling. But guys, even after the next migraine, I again resumed my normal ways. I didn't decide, okay, this means I need a break, or this means I need to really take a hard look at things. If you want to think about it this way, it's like maybe God was sending me a message and I wasn't taking it. And my mom will always say, first God whispers, then he speaks, then he shouts. And you have to kind of look at the messages you're getting in your life, and you can kind of evaluate what's going on here. And I think first maybe I was being whispered to, then I was being talked to. And then when I go getting multiple other migraines in a very short period of time, what I needed to go look at was, what are all these triggers that I normally deal with? And it's like all of them are actually becoming a factor all at the same time for me. And I can do something about some of them. Even on top of it, I changed my contacts prescription, which has been a help to me. You know, that's been good, but that's not the only thing I'm dealing with, because like I said, when you look at all the triggers that I normally have, and many of them come back to self-care, not enough sleep, too much screen time, stress, dehydration, perhaps skipping a meal or being late on a meal. A lot of people with migraines recommend small, frequent meals for this reason. Water break. Once I got more than 2 migraines really close together, that was when I really started finally taking this all seriously, finally looking at all the things in my life that I was putting myself last on, basically. And it's very easy to do this. I mean, anybody, I'm not just saying parents out there, but it is really easy with 3 kids and a husband to do a ton of different things and just let yourself fall last. How many of us have gotten a meal together for our kids and then we find ourselves just kind of standing at the counter, just eating a few bites of whatever might be left, and it really wasn't much, and it wasn't enough, and it wasn't enough to fuel all the energy you're putting out all day. But that's just kind of what happens, and then you move on to the next thing because somebody else needs something. You know, you're in a caretaker nonstop kind of mode, and if you're already kind of a workaholic with your work things, this can be kind of dangerous. My nutrition was erratic. I was forgetting to even take my vitamins. I'm one who, like with my kids, I give them, you know, their fruit, their vegetable with every meal, fresh. Like, these kids are eating good, balanced stuff every day and most every meal, and then like I'm never eating the fruit and vegetables. You know, I'm just eating some random little, like, either leftover here or there or just whatever I can find. And I stopped and thought, well, how can I work on the nutrition? Well, start eating some dang fruit and vegetables. I think I've eaten an apple a day since I really came to terms with what was happening migraine-wise, and I had these multiple migraines, and I realized that a change had to be made. Also, making sure I eat a breakfast, having that mid-morning snack, having a lunch, having something in the afternoon. A time that some of these migraines would come on me when I was having multiple migraines, was at the end of the day. And it would have been like, let's say I give the kids their dinner at like 5, but Bub doesn't end up getting home until like 6:30 from work, and I wait for him and we eat together. No, go ahead and get you like a small sandwich before then, because my body, I think, is needing it. And guys, a big detail here is I am breastfeeding. So I am sustaining another life here amid everything else I'm doing. And that is burning a lot of calories per day. And have you seen my little guy? He's a chunk. I think he is going at the milk supply in a way the girls never did. And also still waking up a couple times in the night. So there's my sleep trigger that I feel like I can only do so much about. But at the same time, you know, you may have seen some recent videos. I'm not up here when it's dark and early every day anymore. I'm up here sometimes after it's light out and after Bella's gone to school and Rhett's napping and Biddy's the one up and Mama's over here helping me. Thank God she's an angel, and, you know, she'll be in the next room like playing with them, and then I feel like I can start then and instead get a little extra sleep in the morning if I feel like it's been an especially rough night. So instead of pushing myself to go ahead, get up when it's 5 a.m. and shoot that darn video, I'm recognizing if I've been up a lot that night that I need to be taking the extra sleep if I can get it, you know? And these are critical decisions. I mean, migraines are terrible. I would take almost anything over that. So you see me up here early today, I can gladly say he was up only once last night. That was awesome. I really think some of the nighttime waking, he doesn't always feed that much, but he just kind of wants the togetherness. That's how babies are. Nursing is something that I think fills more than one need for them. But for a long span of time there, for months, you know, I was getting up multiple times in the night and then like pretty much every 2 hours during the day. I'm nursing, and that's taking something from my body. And am I drinking enough water? Some days. Well, some days isn't enough. You know, to do it right sometimes isn't good enough. So that's why, you know, enter the water jug, and I drink 2 of these every day. That's a half gallon. So the goal is to ultimately take down a gallon a day. So the eating and the hydration is absolutely huge for me. It makes a big difference, I think. And I mean, I can notice a big difference in my energy level too. I feel like I'm just operating on all cylinders now. You know, I've been eating more fruits and vegetables. When I need a snack, I go for an apple, I go for some carrots. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything complicated, guys, if you can just keep some of those things around and extra, because my kids go through produce. Belle and Eve, like, they're produce eating machines. Before kids, stuff used to go bad in my fridge. Now we just tear through it. But I'm deciding, you know, I need to be part of that too. I need to be eating the fresh, good stuff. And I need to be paying attention to it pretty much every meal that I eat, and snacks too. And there have been other things that I know I've talked about on here, like the amber necklace. I need to get that on, I guess. But, you know, I have been wearing an amber necklace. You'll do anything when you're struggling with migraines, and I was getting like suggestions left and right from y'all. And I don't know if the amber necklace is exactly saving the day, but I've been wearing it. I think it's kind of cute, and it may or may not be helping me with migraines. Also, the blue light blocking glasses. I throw those on when I'm editing or if I'm watching TV. Little changes like that I've made just because I felt like it was something that was within my control. Getting back on my vitamins, I may have had some imbalances there. Who knows? Think about it. If your nutrition's not great and you're also not taking any kind of vitamin regularly, I don't know how I got off on that, but I did. And also just thinking about the stress level. Where is the stress coming from? There's some level of stress per week thinking okay, I want to get my 3 videos up, and can I do that? And is something going to get in the way of that? And, that's stressful, and that's something that I could change. I could change my mentality on that. I could dial it back as much as I want to achieve and do and tackle the to-do list and really get that stuff done. I've got to kind of let go of a little bit of that feeling because I just don't think it's healthy. It's literally not healthy. So before I know it, as I've really assessed things, I've come up with an answer to pretty much all of my triggers, right? I've addressed the lack of sleep by finding ways to give myself a little more in the mornings when I feel like it's been a really rough night. Too much screen time. I've been definitely making my editing sessions shorter, just doing a little at a time and then getting up and walking around, not getting in that mode where my eyes are just constantly looking at the screen. Really not looking at my phone as much either. Stress, just trying to change my mentality when it comes to productivity. There was something I saw on Instagram recently, and there's a mom who's there with a basket full of laundry and she's got the little baby here too, and they said in the caption productivity comes in many forms. That is so valuable for me to hear and take in, because sometimes you feel I haven't gotten anything done today, but yet you've taken care of 3 little lives and you've played with them and you've made them laugh and smile, and all those things are big things, and all those things are productive things. And I'm talking to you, all you moms out there who feel like when you're at home and you're just, you see a to-do list that's a mile long and you feel like you're up against something that's insurmountable because you've also got these kids and you just feel overwhelmed by everything. I'm telling you, it is productive just to, meet their needs. That's a huge thing. And it makes me emotional because I feel bad for the old me. I look at her and I kind of think you made it too hard on yourself. And years later, when I'm out of the little kid life here, I think I'll be sad if I look back and I think you just were constantly burning the candle at both ends. You were constantly stressed out about getting everything done. You were not valuing the little things, even though I am a very be present person. When I'm into something, when I'm playing with somebody, I'm doing it. We are having a ball. But at the end of the day, I will look back at what I did and I won't say I did much. Maybe I didn't have much to show for it, And it's really about reworking that mentality and saying, that's not what matters. The big things, when you're really doing big things, you don't necessarily have anything to show for it, to Instagram about it, to talk about it, to write about it on a to-do. It's the big things that aren't quantifiable on a to-do list. So in reaction to stress, it's reworking that mindset for me. Dehydration, tackled that big time. I think that was a big issue. I really do. Not a day goes by that I don't take down a gallon of water. And maybe I'm doing it a little bit in fear, but gosh, these jugs that have the little markers on it that kind of keep you on task, they're really great. And I know my body's feeling better because of that. And then lastly, missing a meal sometimes. I wouldn't say I all out often miss a meal, but being late on eating or not eating really quality meals. So I really tackled all of that. There have been people who have said does the amber necklace really work, or do the blue light blockers, do those really work? That's a good question, but I've made a lot of changes in my life. Mental, emotional changes, just very practical things. And as a result, I've got to think it's made a big difference, because once I really started paying attention to all these things, guess what I didn't have anymore? migraines, you know, once I really started taking care of myself again. I mean, there's a reason why they say, like, put your own oxygen mask on first, right? Because I'm not much used to anybody laying in a dark room sleeping off my migraine. And that pains me. And one day when I was just in this string of migraines, it was actually on Valentine's Day. I hadn't yet, like, figured it all out. I hadn't really looked at all the triggers. I think I fixed the contact lens issue, but yet I still hadn't looked at all these things that I think I was really, in a way, the migraines were trying to draw me to. Like, if the migraine was pointing to something and trying to, like, underline and highlight something, I wasn't seeing it yet. And I remember on Valentine's Day I had yet another migraine, and I was just mad about it. I was laying on the couch and I was like crying that this was happening to me again, and I just was feeling bad for myself and feeling like a victim and feeling sad. And then, you know, I just like wrote down basically what triggers my migraines, what has always throughout my life triggered them. And rarely, I mean, I can't think of a time when one has come straight out of the blue and I haven't been able to tie it to one of those things. And I thought, how can I change this? I need to take control of this. And I did, and I feel really good about it. But instead of just saying, you know, oh, I'm going along about life just fine, I'm getting all the things done, blah, blah, blah. No, what does getting all the things done really mean if you're not taking care of yourself? I'm not saying everybody out there deals with migraines. I know a lot of people do. But maybe there are other ways where you just feel like you're, I don't know, slipping a little bit or struggling. You have to get really honest with yourself and look at the ways that you're doing, you know, all the little things throughout your day. Is something falling through the cracks there? I'm really glad to say my kids aren't, but their mom kind of was, you know, like I just wasn't taking good enough care of myself, and I was expecting a ton out of myself, you know. Yeah, if you could just keep everybody up and running and at the same time sustain another human life through your own milk without the greatest nutrition or hydration, if you could just do that, like, that's ridiculous. And it's about giving yourself some grace, you know. Isn't it funny how we freely give that a lot of times to other people, and the advice we would give someone else was, oh, you need to do this and this and this and this, but then when it comes to our own lives, we just kind of, you know, hurry through it and dust stuff under the rug and like, oh my gosh. And just don't forget that phrase. Productivity comes in many forms, you know, and sometimes the productive thing is slowing down, taking a nice shower, asking for help, doing something that really relaxes you. You know, this up here, I think some of y'all think this YouTube channel is my work or my job because that's the way a lot of YouTubers talk about it, but this is my like special me time. This is one of my happy places. This is therapeutic to me. This feels good to me. So finding those things and doing those things, and whether it amounts to a video or not, just up here doing it, you know, getting out of the house, going to a basketball game or something like that that I have fun with. The aha moment here is that's productive. That is productive, you know? You're taking care of yourself, and don't keep glorifying how busy things are and how much you're doing for everybody else and how much you're getting done. Get yourself on that to-do list. And I think that's when the game is really going to change. And again, I want to look back on my life. I want to think that I was putting my best self out there. I am by nature a very present person. When I get into something, I get very into it. I get very emotionally involved in the things that I'm doing. But you can only extend yourself so much without like looking inward and thinking, where am I depleted in here? You know, what do I need to do for myself? So guys, that was my reality check. The migraines, frankly, needed to happen. And I guess they needed to happen in somewhat of a string. And it took several for me to really, you know, take control of it and think, I see what's missing here. I see where I'm falling short, and it's taking care of myself. And in some very basic ways, not just the, you know, take a hot bubble bath ways. Like, that's nice and all, but I need to eat some vegetables, you know? So here's my finished look. I've been on complete autopilot this entire video, but thank you guys so much for watching. In terms of migraine medications and doctors, I've been to my doctor. The Imitrex thing, by the way, is not something that I'm like taking constantly to fend off migraines. That's something you take in response to a migraine. I'm really living my life in the interest of not getting more, as opposed to really coming up with the best way to tackle one that comes. I need to prevent them from happening. And I have been really, really successful in that since I've made these changes in my life. And I know many people have migraines worse than I do. If you heard me say earlier in the video that I typically get like a few of them a year, I know so many people have it worse than that, and I'm not trying to be all like, woe is me. But this is only the second time in my life where I've had them with a lot of frequency, real close together. And I think if I didn't learn some lessons from that, that would have been not good. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your love and any amount of thoughts or prayers that you've put into my situation as I've talked about it here and there. I really appreciate that. Those of us who have swapped advice back and forth, I hope it's been helpful. You've helped me as well in a lot of ways. And so I just want to say thank you for that, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.